Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. In today's video, I thought we'd do something a little bit fun here and look at the general character popularity in Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 has now been out for a few weeks, and the numbers are sort of settling themselves out on which characters are more popular and which characters are less popular. So before we get directly into the numbers, I just want to tell you how I gathered these stats so you have some frame of reference. So these stats were gathered on the CFN and include all platforms, so PlayStation, Xbox, PC, all that kind of stuff. And it's everyone who has done at least their placement matches for ranked in Street Fighter 6. So if you only played single player, or if you played online but never did your placement matches, or you only did your partial placement matches, this will not count. Only people who did at least all the placement matches with the character will count. I figured that's the most fair way to do it, so it doesn't just count someone who played Zangief a singular time ever and then moved on. And the numbers themselves are both exactly what you would expect and surprising to a degree as well, so let's get directly into it. So first, quick little pie chart just to show this off. You may notice some names like Ken quite a bit larger, some names like Dhalsim and Blanka, not so much. That's just for the visual learner people if they want to pause that. But now the hardcore numbers, let's dig into it. So here is every character in the game ranked by their usage in ranked, as long as you did your placement matches. And there's definitely some big winners and losers here. Some characters you would expect to be more popular, like say Cammy. Hey, yeah, certainly. But some characters like Dhalsim and Blanka, not so much. And some of the newcomers, Manon and Marisa, are pulling some big numbers. But the biggest numbers, well, that turns out to be Ken Masters. Turns out Ken is the most played character in the game, and by quite a bit, and I actually found this mildly surprising because over the years we've also had access to like the Street Fighter V stats, and Ken's always generally been number 2 and Ryu has always been number 1, but this time around it seems to have flipped. So if you want some hardcore numbers, well, these are the exact numbers, and Ken comes in at over 100,000 players have done at least their placement matches with Ken worldwide since Street Fighter 6 has launched. And that's, to say the least, very substantial. Ryu is number 2, which, well, if Ken was going to be number 1, then Ryu has to be number 2. But even then, there's a substantial gap between the two characters. Ryu comes in at 81,000 players total versus Ken's 112,000, so 30,000 some player gap. That's big. And while we have the numbers up directly, let's just run through the list here. So Cammy, just barely behind Ryu, 79,000. Marisa, newcomer character, 68,000 above Juri, who's very popular, so that speaks very well for her. Manon also just barely below Juri herself, so Marisa and Manon are triumphs of the new characters, because here, a lot of the top here, Ken, Ryu, Cammy, Juri, Zangief. So the fact that Marisa and Manon is holding up here means, they might return for Street Fighter 7 down the road, right? And also Zangief, a very popular character. I know people don't expect grapplers to be popular, and maybe overall they aren't, but Zangief has always been very popular. According to the numbers too, he was also quite popular in Street Fighter V as well, and that will hold true here in Street Fighter 6. Luke and Jamie are up there as well, newcomers, so quite popular, although Luke pretty substantially higher than Jamie overall, over a 10,000 usage lead. Dee Jay higher than I thought. I don't know if that's, now that we've had a few weeks to go through it, that Dee Jay's perceived as, one of the best characters in the game, and that might have something to do with it. Because otherwise, generally, he's never been that popular, but the numbers play out in his favor. JP, he's new, he's a little bit weird. Easy enough to understand why he's a bit lower. Chun-Li is a bit of a story. Chun-Li has always been one of the faces of the franchise, and she's nearer to the bottom of the list, and I think that's her perceived difficulty in this game, as Chun-Li is maybe the hardest character to use correctly in this game, besides Dhalsim, who's also at the very bottom of the list. So I don't know how that's going to work out in the end, but there you go, I guess. Kimberly is also kind of lower down the list. She's the tricky rushdown, and anytime you get tricky and difficult to use, generally character usage will go down. And Honda, well, Honda's Honda. He's the antithesis of tricky, and he is pretty easy to use, but people fear the big boy and they don't want to put in the time. And coming in at the end of the list, Guile. Guile, strong, but never that popular. Lily, the lowest of all the newcomers. But even though she's the lowest newcomer, she's still wildly more popular than Dhalsim and Blanka, who are very clearly at the bottom of this list. Dhalsim, it's an easy story to tell. He's one of the more important characters in Street Fighter history, yes. and he's around just about every game, yes, but he is hard to use. You cannot just pick up the character. You cannot just say, like, Ken or Ryu, okay, I'll go 5 minutes of training mode. I need to, I learned what I need to do. Let's head into ranked. And not with Dhalsim. That is just not gonna swim. He actually was not at the bottom of the list in Street Fighter V, especially in the later days. Although the fact that he was generally considered top 2, and some would even argue top 1, probably helped with that. Characters like Fang were lower on the list than he was in Street Fighter V by the end. But right now, we're in the early days of Street Fighter. He's definitely hard to use. You will have to put like 5, 6, 7 times more effort to learn Dhalsim than you would pretty much just about any other character in the game. So there's that. And right now, a lot of people don't perceive him as strong. So that, I think, will change over time as we get more optimal. But for now, if he's not perceived as strong and he's considered, more effort, more time to use, why would you pick him, right? Why not just pick Dee Jay or Ken or something and get results right away? And for Blanka, he is doing better than Dhalsim, yes, but, well, he's still Blanka. He's never been super popular, plus the whole doll mechanic, I've actually know people that are scared off because of that, because they just want to do Blanka ball and all that, and they feel if they're not using the doll correctly, then they're not playing the character correctly, and they just don't want to bother to begin with. I do feel as time goes, Blanka will go up higher on the list. Not super high, but higher. As far as the bottom list goes, to be honest, I thought Lily would have been the least played character, but the fact that she has basically about as much players as Dhalsim and Blanka combined, while she's in 3rd place, means she's not last place, so that does make me happy. So we'll bust out our graph here for a moment. And basically, does this tell us any tales? So Ken, Ryu, Cammy being in the top, that I expected. I would have bet money on that at the start, right? The only thing that surprised me is Ken's over Ryu, and I feel over the following weeks, months, and years that will probably flip back to Ryu being more popular in the end. I think we're still a bit too in the early days for people's perception of tiers to affect the character list too much, because Guile, I think most people would agree Guile's a very strong character in this game, and he's nearer to the bottom of the list, and Dee Jay's higher than I thought, but, he's potentially a top 3 character, and therefore, could be higher yet. You know what? Give it a month. I think characters like Guile and Dee Jay probably will climb up the usage list compared to some of the other characters. But that said, that's a snapshot in time. So the numbers are accurate as of this morning. I double checked all my numbers as of the morning right before I made this video here. And basically, let me know what you think. Are any of these numbers surprising to you, or are they as you expected? Once again, I am mildly surprised Ken is more popular than Ryu. I'm also surprised Chun-Li is as low on the list as she is, although when you think about it critically, considering her relative level of difficulty compared to the rest of the cast, I guess that makes sense. People are just scared off. But post what you think in the comments below. And also, over the following weeks, months, years, if you think trends will shift differently, also post your ideas on that, because I'd be interested to see what they'd be. That all said, that's the list for now. I'll post the hard numbers in the video description as well if you just want to copy and paste them somewhere else. Once again, they're accurate as of today, although in the future that will change. But other than all that, we're now at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.